All right, Nick, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. The coaching staff is in place. We've talked about it ad nauseum. Great selections on the coaching staff side of things. But now we're starting to see some moves in the player department being made, or at least starting to be made for the Cowboys. And this latest move that they have started to work on, I think would be huge for the Cowboys going forward. Before we jump into that, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, let's get on into it. Great article here from NBC Sports talking about the Cowboys starting to bring back a key player to the defense this offseason. Let's get right on into it. Like I said, again, this is from NBC Sports. Cowboys have begun negotiations with free agent defensive tackle Osa Odighizuwa. Executive Vice President Stephen Jones told David Moore of the Dallas Morning News on Sunday. Said, "We've had negotiations with Osa," Jones told Moore. "I think Osa is a really good football player. He's an important piece." The Cowboys have used the franchise tag 11 times for 8 different players, but they're not expected to use it on Odighizuwa. The cost would be $23.4 million for 2025, but the transition tag is a more palatable $18.9 million. Jones said, "It is a tool. It's something we haven't ruled out using. We'll just see how this week goes and how our visits with his agents go." I think this is an important move for the Cowboys to get this ironed out, potentially bring Odighizuwa back into the fold. I think he's a really talented player. Curious what your thoughts are on this one, Nick. But before we get to you, Cowboys fan, in the comment section below, let us know your thoughts on the situation. What do you want them to do with Odighizuwa? Do you think, is the franchise tag too much for a player of his caliber? Is it just right? Do you think the transition tag's better? Or if they can't make a deal on their own, do you think they should move off of him? Let us know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about this latest news out of Dallas?
I don't even worry about the particulars yet. I'm just excited that the Cowboys leadership is finally being proactive when it comes to re-signing key talent. Obviously, we know the drama last offseason with CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, the late deals with those two stars. And look, this is not something the Cowboys have done well in the past. They obviously had a lot of issues with Dak Prescott, went through multiple franchise tags. They had the negotiation with Ezekiel Elliott back in the day, right? This is something they've always struggled with. They've always been late to the game in this process. And I'm just excited to hear that the Cowboys are being proactive, using this time before the start of the new league year to actually try and lock down some of these key players. And look, Osa Odighizuwa, he's a really solid, I think he's one of the best pass rushing defensive tackles in football. Run game, he's a little bit more of a mixed bag, but when he's in the pass rush mode, he is a dominant force, especially when you pair him with number 11. And that's where it gets even more interesting. There's a report from Todd Archer coming out today where Stephen Jones said, and he was talking about the delay in with CeeDee Lamb's contract last year, how it won't affect Micah Parsons, saying, "I don't necessarily know that there's a lot of extenuating situations out there that would prevent us from being able to get our hands around something with Micah." Now, I'm going to take Stephen Jones's word here and say he thinks there's not going to be any reason for them to not extend and give Micah Parsons his deal, which means hopefully they're going to do it relatively soon, which again, we're talking about a new era with the Dallas Cowboys. We're talking about a total vibe shift, a total attitudinal shift. And look, I think this is what the goal was with the Schottenheimer hire, and this is what the goal was with the Schottenheimer staff. We're not going to try and just keep the status quo. We're going to try and change things up a little bit. And if the Cowboys can actually stick to that an entire offseason, then they'll actually head somewhere with a lot of success for long term. I think one of the problems with the Cowboys, basically the past 25 years, is they've thanks a large part recently to Will McClay, is they've drafted well, they've had some talented teams, but they haven't done a great job developing an infrastructure that allows them to maintain long-term success and eventually get a title. The Eagles don't have that problem. The Patriots didn't have that problem. The Ravens didn't have that problem. The Pittsburgh Steelers have had that problem over the past 12 years or so. You want to avoid the complacency of the Steelers and embrace the willingness to change what you're doing like the Eagles do. And I think that's what we're seeing from the Dallas Cowboys. And again, it's a little thing, and most teams don't struggle with this. The Cowboys really have in the past, but the fact that they're actually being active, making a big move here, setting up a big signing first with Odighizuwa, and then most likely Micah Parsons, music to my ears. It means the Cowboys are finally learning something, and hopefully this momentum will continue once we get into free agency and the draft.
Yeah, Nick, and I think this has kind of been the ongoing theme this whole offseason. You talk about not being late to the party, but there's another aspect here that I'm trying to point out is the Cowboys have been making little victories along the way. They're not doing anything crazy. They're not trying to throw out the playbook. They're not trying to overturn everything. They're doing strong moves, rebuilding the culture, but keeping guys that were core to it, bringing a guy like Schottenheimer in. They're doing little things along the way, building, building, building. They start with Odighizuwa, Mike Parsons probably soon after that. They keep making the right move over and over again. And when you get the little things right, I think that makes the big picture stronger in the end. If this team can continue these little wins, these little victories, I think the fan base is going to get more and more excited about what they're doing in Dallas. They were to start to see the results hit the field. And these are the kind of moves that really start to turn a team around. I think very soon we're going to see the Cowboys in the playoffs. I think moves like these are going to start to turn into playoff victories and deep playoff runs. These are the kind of things that start change. You can't move a mountain all at once. You got to start one pebble at a time, and we're seeing these pebbles start to stack up. So I really like what's coming out of Dallas.